my colleague from the NFL Network and the NFL Media Group. He also provided some terrific insight on what's going on in the NFL when he was my guest for this past Monday Night Football's halftime show on Westwood One. He is my buddy Ian Rapoport. What's up, Rap Sheet? What's going on?
What's going on, Rich? You kind of you kind of made me think of something that happens to me all the time.
Which is what?
Which is, hey man, just want to say, you do a great job. I love watching you on ESPN.
They think you're Schefter?
You were so close. Man, everything was right until the last four letters. And I know what they mean, and it's all the same to many people. But I'm like, come on, man.
Do they think you're Schefter? Is that what that means? No, I'm being serious because the number of times I would get, Bob Lee. I still get, hey man, you were great, and I get Kenny Mayne, and I'm like, I look nothing like Kenny Mayne. What are you talking about? I get that all the time.
I would say once out of every probably 20 times, I'll get like Schefter, and I'll be like, close, same church, or same
synagogue, same synagogue,
yeah.
right, wrong Torah, right, same synagogue, right.
My problem is there's no way to correct it without kind of sounding like a jerk.
Yeah, I know.
Like there's no way to be like, no, I'm the other guy who you see on TV. Like there's just
and NFL Network isn't right, and NFL Network isn't ESPN, but it's good to be. Hey, you're that guy. I get that all the time. You're that guy. Now you're our guy right now, Ian. So how long is Tua going to be out, do you think, with his rib injury?
So he's definitely out this week. And this was an interesting one because on Sunday night and Monday, everyone was pretty sure it was bruised ribs, except he was in so much pain that I think they just didn't felt something wasn't right. So they did more tests, an MRI, I believe a CT scan too. And that's where you discover, like, tiny fractures, so multiple rib fractures, out anywhere from probably 1 week to 3 weeks. So like the actual true week to week. So definitely out this week, could be out again the following week, and then, we'll see. And obviously, it's like anytime there's a Texans, quarterback question, it brings up Deshaun Watson. Obviously the Dolphins were one of the rumored teams as well.
Right.
And then, Tua's, I wouldn't say on the firmest ground. I don't think anyone is 100% convinced, 1,000% that he's a franchise quarterback. So then Brissett comes in for a game or two. It brings up a lot of questions. I would say more questions than answers.
Well, that focuses things on a trade deadline, don't you think? I mean, especially since this week proved that there is no scenario in which the Texans are going to start Deshaun Watson this year or ask him or put him in a position to tell his teammates, I am not going to come to the rescue for you guys, right? I mean, this week proved it. I mean, they just half an hour ago added Jeff Driscoll to the active roster.
Yeah.
So what more do you need to know on a short week?
Oh, 100%. And I was even surprised that people thought there was a chance that Watson could play because for two reasons, Rich. One, he has been pretty clear that he is not going to play for the Texans. Two, I know this sounds weird, but it actually makes sense for him not to play, not risk injury, and, trade him either when there's more certainty as far as, what the team is like you're trading him to, or at the end of the year when you know what kind of draft pick you're getting, because it's two bad scenarios happen if you trade him, right now or you play him. One, he could get hurt. That ruins your trade value and also makes him hurt. Two, you'd hate to trade him somewhere. Then that team all of a sudden becomes really good.
Yes.
And then you trade it for like the 27th overall pick. That doesn't help a lot.
Right. Ian Rapoport here on the Rich Eisen Show. Ben Roethlisberger, how hurt is he? And has he been hurt? Because the offense just looks so dreadful in Pittsburgh right now. I mean, it looked better in the couple of series that Ben had in the preseason against ones. I mean, it's looked completely awful is really the only way to put it. They haven't even gotten Najee Harris more than 30 carries so far in two games that were not even out of hand. So walk me through the Steelers, Ben, current, future, the whole thing right now.
Well, it doesn't seem like there's a place where somebody said, okay, he got injured here on Sunday. And so if that's the case, then maybe it is like, was this a nagging injury that we didn't know about? was this kind of just something that was annoying, but he didn't say anything? Like, it brings up all of those things. And then, like you've done this long enough, usually when something seems off, it usually is off for a reason. Like, if it looks like things aren't right in Pittsburgh, like a lot of times that means an injury we don't know about. So, it is possible. I think he's probably going to end up playing only because Ben literally always plays. But every one of these little things, kind of brings him down just a little bit. I mean, he is a gamer, and we've seen this. We will laugh on game day morning watching him warm up, just limping around and go out and throw 45 times. But it is a little bit concerning. Also, he's 38 or something. So each of these little things is not so little.
Right. And he's just right around, he's 39, right? Pushing 40. And, Hayden, Bush, Watt, Alu out for a while now. I mean, the defense was, at least the defense would got him through Buffalo. So what can you tell me about Watt's readiness, since obviously he's the Defensive Player of the Year candidate amongst the many bold-faced names I just said?
And has looked awesome so far. I mean, just awesome. So his injury was described to me as pretty minor. So I'm not definitely saying he's playing this week. I mean, it's a groin injury, so usually you miss some time. But it sounds like if he misses time, it's going to be minimal, like maybe one game or something like that. Which is good news because he was in street clothes pretty quick on Sunday. So usually when that's the case, I was like, oh boy, that's not good. But it seems like this is more minor than anything. But you're right. I mean, they are going to have to rely on a lot of young people very, very early. And they have one of the best infrastructures of any team. So I think they're going to be fine and at least withstand until reinforcements come back. But it is a little bit of a precarious situation, I would say that.
Well, depth is being tested all across the league right now, certainly at the quarterback position. Any chatter about Cam Newton at all? Or all teams are like, no, we're going to go through our depth chart. We're going to rely on our depth. That was the plan coming in. That's the plan now. And then Cam's phone would ring when somebody's plans to rely on their depth, they're going to get upset. That's for sure. So where's Cam in all of this, best you can tell?
I haven't heard him mentioned at all.
Wow.
Which, we don't have a situation where, we have one quarterback that's out for the season, but I think we've seen Taylor Heineke could actually be really good. So, I think I understand and people understand why Cam Newton wasn't the choice there, because Heineke looks like, honestly, as good as Fitzpatrick or maybe even better, at least at first blush. We don't have a situation where, Cam would come in and take over, because all the guys who are out, even Tua, it's more 1 or 2 games, if that. But again, I haven't heard him mention him at all. And even, each time the Patriots signed him, I don't even think they were competing with anybody else. So unless I'm missing it, which is possible, I haven't heard any Cam Newton chatter at all, really.
Well, let me give you one name that might not be talked about very much either, because he's out and now he's on the COVID list. Any word on Michael Thomas on when he might return for the Saints? Because it looked like week 1, hey, we don't need him. Week 2, boy, do we miss him. So you could always use can't guard Mike. Any word on his availability sometime soon?
Yeah, and that was a really rough example of, Dr. Jekyll, Jameson, Mr. whatever.
Right.
What I mean?
Yes.
Whatever that is. That's the nightmare scenario for the Saints, is that week in and week out you don't know what Jameis you're going to get. But I would say for Michael Thomas, I believe that he's got a good shot to be out there week 7. And I think if I remember correctly, they have a bye either week 5 or 6. So I think
week
he's
5.
supposed to miss.
Yep.
Okay. So then I think he's supposed to miss 5 games, not 6 games, which, is not ideal, but it's a situation. I was thinking the same thing with Bradley Chubb yesterday, because, Chubb had ankle surgery. It's so bad to see a great player out there and not look like himself. And last year, Michael Thomas did not look like himself, just like Chubb didn't look like himself last week. So he had surgery. He fixed it. I'm sure he is, as he tends to be, extremely, extremely angry and motivated in a way that few players can get. So my guess is when you see Michael Thomas, you will see a very good version of him. And I will say this,
yes,
not being self-serving at all, but is it possible he's on my fantasy bench waiting until he comes back? I'm not going to comment on that, but it would help, yes.
Well, that's part of the reason why I asked. And so what about Brandon Aiyuk? We had Jimmy G on the show yesterday, and he said the competition is stiff at the receiver position. So he's kind of saying the same thing that the coach is saying, which should not surprise anybody that a quarterback is echoing what a coach is saying for whatever reason. But what is going on with one of the top rookies from last year coming back and then being a non-factor? And yes, 2 wins for the team, but 1 catch, boom, that's it. What's going on there for him?
1 catch, 15 snaps in the opener, which is not a lot, obviously. I think Kyle said it kind of plainly, and he sort of tends to do this, just say what he's thinking, but I think they need more consistency. And week 1 felt to me like a wake-up call where just something wasn't right and they needed more from him, and you hope he responds. I mean, these are human beings, right? So sometimes maybe they fall off, or maybe they're not as consistent as they should be, or maybe just I'm not saying this is specifically him, but maybe the effort isn't what you want. It really feels like something better needs to happen for Brandon Aiyuk for him to replicate what was the case last year, because it's kind of going the wrong way. He's so talented, right, and such a unique player that I'm sure he can turn it around. But there's no free passes, and it's pretty clear he's not getting one. So I think he needs to, kind of pick it up a little bit. And Kyle Shanahan was pretty plain in saying so.
A few more minutes left with Ian Rapoport, my colleague from the NFL Media Group, NFL Network, at Rapsheet on Twitter and also Instagram. Hey, when you're chit-chatting with everybody across the league, what's the chatter about the taunting re-emphasis or emphasis right now, and why it's happening, and how resolute those who are demanding it to happen from ownership and coaching staffs or coaching offices, how resolute are they moving forward with this? Fans are pissed, I'll tell you that. So, and players aren't happy. What are you hearing on this?
It is weird, though, because I've seen a lot of the clips, and I think there's, people online are definitely mad about this. And people online tend to get mad about a lot of things. There are some of those penalties where, the receiver gets right in someone's face, and we see it, but we can't hear, and then the ref throws a flag, and everybody loses their minds, but you're like, we don't know what he said. I don't know. I would say this, it's really polarizing. Sure, I've had some people come to me and be like, look, this is bad. The league needs to change this. I don't sense any momentum to change. And I also, there are a surprising number of people to me that don't like taunting and would prefer that it not exist and are trying to get it out. And I just know from a kid perspective, watching one little kid taunt another kid in a 8-year-old soccer game really pisses me off.
No, I know. I'm with you too. It's just the officiating of it. You're putting the officials in a position of deciding what is taunting and what is just excessive celebration that might be in the direction of another, an opponent.
Well,
and then how is it not taunting a team when you're cartwheeling in an end zone? You know what I'm saying?
But I think you really hit on the issue there. Is we as people who are, in the league and report on the league, we celebrate celebrations.
Yeah.
I think there's a weekly award for celebrations, and I love celebrations. I think it's one of the best things the league has done in a long time. And then you're kind of like, well, isn't taunting sort of that? And you're right. That's the only thing, is trying to find that fine line. I don't think it's been perfect, but I would say it seems to be more in the category now of something that is a big issue 3 or 4 weeks into the season. Then week 8, it won't be an issue anymore because everyone adapts. The officials learn, the players learn, and it becomes kind of like a thing. Or
Tom Brady just got a tweet about it, because that's what blew up the emphasis on holding a couple of years ago. I mean, that's literally what happened. The holding penalties that came out of preseason, don't worry, it's just the preseason. We're just trying to use the preseason for emphasis. And then the first 2 weeks plus the Thursday night game was so bad, Brady tweeted about it, poof, it was gone, right? And now the emphasis on taunting, it was all these flags in the preseason. Don't worry about it by the regular season, everyone will adjust. And, I am all for, Ian, having removed from the game individual A does something terrific, stands over defender A, and yet barks at said defender. Like that we don't need. You just don't need it.
Right.
But when guys do something and they go face to face and they start jawing at each other, it's just a spillover effect of a very violent game that is highly emotional, and people who play it at the highest level are some of the most emotional people. And you got to figure out where that line is. And in the meantime, it's just arbitrary. It's like taking targeting and applying it to celebrating. That you're targeting your defender with your celebration, and I feel like it's not working so far. And I'm just wondering what you're hearing on that.
Yeah, and I just have not sensed any. I have not sensed any move to change, and I really think that the NFL believes that people will adjust and do much less taunting at other players and much less celebrating into the ether. And maybe after week 4 or week 3 or something, well, this is week 3. Maybe after week 4,
right,
it will sort of adapt to itself. I'll say this: like I've been surprised, and I was reading Bill Belichick's comments on this because he seems to be someone who is a proponent of the anti-taunting rule. There are a surprising number of people who like the way it is, who would prefer that taunting was out of the game. I've been surprised by that part of it.
Say that again. There are people who like Belichick. Again, that's what I'm hearing. That there are the those in membership, ownership, and head coaches. We had Frank Reich on the program, and he's just like, "Hey, I want to crush everyone just like anyone else. Like I'm a competitive guy, but taunting should be out." And I tell my guys, just celebrate in the other direction. And this was after his guy got called for taunting.
Yeah, and I've been surprised how many people take that stance. I just didn't expect that. So that's kind of the other side of it,
Ian, thanks for the time, man. Really appreciate it. We'll chat again. Look for my call, as always.
Look forward to it, Rich. Always great hanging out.
Yeah, right back at you, and we'll see you on NFL Game Day morning on Sunday. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.